Hello and welcome to Of the People. I am Robert Chernin. Thank you for joining us again. Guns, guns, and more guns. Have you ever noticed that all the problems in society, according to the Democrats, are because of too many guns, too much gun violence, and all they want to do is take the guns away? The latest, you ask? So the Biden administration, under the cloak of night, they established a federal office for gun safety. I believe the exact name is, let's get this right so no one can accuse me. It's the Federal Office of Gun Violence Prevention. What's in a name? You have to love it, right? So they can't go after the guns per se. So they go after something, Office for Gun Violence Prevention, because who wouldn't be against preventing gun violence? Because if you're against preventing gun violence, you're a bad person, right? See how they word these things? Let's not forget that what they're really trying to do, and by the way, this comes on the heels of the bipartisan Safer Communities Act, which was passed after the Uvalde massacre and the Buffalo shooting. And now they're going after funding for archery and other things in schools because these are obviously deadly sports as well. So now we have the Federal Office for Gun Violence Safety or Prevention of Gun Violence. Thank you. Right. And they're coming after your guns. That's what this is. Let's not forget that the Second Amendment is there to protect all the rights we're supposed to enjoy in the First Amendment. And if they can't get the guns one way, they're going to try to get them another way. And who is part of this federal office, you may say? Well, the representatives from gun control groups, including the Community Justice Fund and the Everytown for Gun Safety Fund, right? Notice that when they put these things together, right, that they never talk about the real things that drive gun violence. And by the way, for the record, a gun isn't good or bad. What you do with the gun makes you good or bad. So it's the people, right? So people need more training with guns, not less. There's a mental health issue that no one wants to seem to address because it's not a mental health issue. It has nothing to do with the fact that families are breaking down and there's no fathers in home in a lot of families. There's nothing to do with the political violence that now seems to be okay from George Floyd forward, and now the other side is complaining that there's too much violence. Who do you think opened the floodgates for that? So of course they want to take the guns, because after the guns, they're already going after the laws, man's laws, God's laws, and now they're going after the guns with the Office for Preventing, let's get it right again because I'm angry, as you could tell, Office of Gun Violence Prevention. Folks, what's in a name? Guns, guns, guns. And they're coming after them again in another way. Thank you, President Biden. Folks, Robert Chernin of The People will be right back with the main show. Stay tuned. Hello, and welcome back to Of the People. I'm Robert Chernin with my lovely co-host,
Ericka Redic.
And joining us is that seer of seers, the fountain of Republican knowledge, Jay the Republican. Jay, welcome back to Of the People.
I appreciate the invite, and I'm happy to be here again for another segment of Throw Up Thursday.
So let's get right to it.
I got my bucket ready, Jay.
What are you? Can I say this on air? What are you puking up today?
Well, I'm not puking up. One of the things that's happening this week is the National Federation of Republican Women are meeting in Oklahoma for their biennial meetings, where they will elect new officers and change some bylaws if that happens. And it's a big event. They expect over 1,000 people there. And for you that don't know, the National Federation of Republican Women have over 1,200 clubs nationally with 64,000 Republican members. But one of the things that's happening, and one of the fights that's going on the floor this year, is whether or not transgender folks will be allowed to become members of the National Republican Federation of Women.
Oh.
Come on. Wait. Let me see. Let me see if I got this right. So Republican, ostensibly conservative women are now going to vote whether or not to admit men who have transgendered to a woman as a member of this Republican women's organization. Am I hearing that right?
You're hearing that right. And one of the things is there was a motion, a resolution that was shot down by the existing leadership that would have changed the definition of what is allowed in the Federation. So just to give you a little background, right now there are slates of officers that are running. And one of the members of the slate is the chair from New Jersey who wants to be part of the leadership of the National Party. 3 years ago, well, in 2019, the New Jersey president, who was this woman running for election to national office, nominated a transgender person to become Woman of the Year in New Jersey.
Oh, wow. So she nominated a man to be Woman of the Year, is what you're saying.
I get really confused about whether it's man, women, all those kind of things. So I always refer to it as a transgender person.
Okay.
So one of the reasons they're saying this is they're worried about lawsuits that are coming, which is ridiculous. If you look at some of the experts in the field of First Amendment rights, and the First Amendment talks clearly about the freedom of association. And that was brought out just recently in the circuit court in California, the Ninth Circuit Court, that took on the case of Anita Green versus the Miss United, let me make sure I get this right, the Miss United States of America pageant.
Okay.
Oh, I thought it was Miss Universe. I had heard that
Miss
story.
USA. Okay.
It is the Miss United States of America. The circuit court, which is well known as being a very liberal court, and that's why Anita Brown brought that case in that particular district.
Right.
The court said that as a private organization, they have the right to define who can become a member of that organization and who can participate. So the courts have already ruled, and the Supreme Court has ruled several times in these cases regarding free association. So
even California, who's super liberal, sided with Miss USA pageant.
Exactly.
Oh,
so that they can define, and it was very clear that their members, those who could compete, were biological women. So now that throws out the whole reason for the National Federation of Republican Women to say that we're afraid of lawsuits, and that's why we still continue and will still allow biological men to be part of our organization. It's interesting that one of the states that has already fought back is Arkansas. And Arkansas, in their bylaws, have said, and let me quote, a woman is defined as being born a DNA biological female at birth. So the Arkansas National Federation of Republican Women made it very clear that their organization is strictly about biological women. We looked at what Riley Gaines is doing nationally to talk about defining a woman. If the Republicans themselves are not willing to step up and define what a woman is, what hope do we have? So that's my throw up of the week, that these National Federation of Republican Women are actually considering allowing biological men to be part of a Republican organization for women. I mean, they might as well just change their mind and call it a National Federation of People.
That's what's the point?
Republican in there. It's if they're defining it as a woman's organization, you should be a biological woman.
I think you make a really good point, Jay, is if even the Republicans will not stand up for women or Republican women, what is the point of being a Republican anymore?
Well, and I don't know, if we go back to the person in New Jersey that was nominated to be Woman of the Year, a transgender person. Not only were they nominated to be Woman of the Year in New Jersey for the Federation of Republican Women, this same person decided to run against a pro-life Republican, Chris Smith, for Congress as an independent. Very pro-choice, liberal, that is part of the National Federation of Republican Women. And I believe this person is still on the board of directors in the New Jersey Federation of Republican Women. So we need to do something about it. And if you are listening to this and you are one of the 1,000 delegates going to this convention, you need to stand up on the floor. There's already a large group of people that will be standing up on the floor to define what a woman is in terms of being a part of the National Federation of Republican Women.
So, Jay, you've got your ear to the ground when it comes to Republican issues, right? That's why you're Jay the Republican. So, I'm not super surprised to hear this out of a place like New Jersey, because we know the Northeast is way more liberal than the rest of the country, right? But like, are we just seeing the degradation of the Republican Party across the country? Do you think these kinds of things are isolated to the Northeast, where they are way more liberal, way more willing to be tyrannized and give up their rights even as Republicans? Is this something you're seeing across the country? Like, would you expect to hear something like this in any of the other 49 states?
What you're really seeing is a divide within the Republican Party of blue state versus red state. And running away from having a national belief system of what it is to be a Republican. So what we're finding is that these blue states are looking for a way to elect Republicans. They're not going in and deciding what the policy should be, but how do we find someone that's electable? And in these cases where they're deciding who's electable is really a Democrat who believes in Democrat philosophies and all of that. So as a party, we need to start defining what it means and how we rule. We're seeing what's going on in the House of Representatives right now, whether or not we're going to allow for the budget, a continuing resolution to go forward. So we need to fight for Republican principles. And it starts with the basics, that we can't be subject to these cancel culture fools that are out there trying to define who we are and what we are. And we need to stay firm with our policies and our beliefs. Can we change the messaging a little bit? Absolutely. Should we change our values and our policies just to get elected and then do nothing once we're elected? That doesn't work, and that shouldn't work.
And isn't that ultimately why people are, what I hear from folks who are abandoning the Republican Party, conservatives, pro-life folks, they're saying our party doesn't even represent us anymore. What is the point of being a Republican? And the point of
being a Republican is that you can't be a Democrat. That there is nothing within the Democrat platform that makes any sense. And that's why it's important for all of us to redefine who we are and to fight for the platform of the Republican Party. Not fight for certain leaders or self-anointed leaders. We need to take a look at the platform, which, if you go back and look at the platform, it is very strong. It represents our values. It represents the issues that are important to Republicans, and it does make a difference. We're going to have a huge fight in 2024 at the National Convention over our platform. And we need to elect representatives that will be on that platform committee that will hold firm to our values and our belief system. And it's what is the exceptionalism that made this country great. And it's Republicanism that makes us a strong nation. And I know that what people are doing with other people very much supports the exceptionalism of the United States. And if we don't defend that, we have no chance going forward. And the best defense of that is to stay within the Republican Party, fight for our values, because it is the only hope that we have.
So now, if I can out you, Jay, I don't know if I'm allowed to out you, but you are currently a member of the platform committee of the National RNC. Isn't that right?
Well, there is no National Platform Committee except that will be happening at the convention in 2024. So there's a bunch of ad hoc groups that are working on the foundation of what the platform is going to look like. But it has to be presented and approved in July of 2024 going forward. So we don't have a platform committee at this point. What's going to happen is there'll be 2 members from every state and territory. So there'll be 112 people that will meet the week before the convention and iron out exactly what the platform will be.
Wow.
So if you are in any of the states watching this, you want to make sure that your delegates that go to the national convention, 1, are conservative, 2, are actually Republicans, and 3, find those that are committed to our platform and what we stand for and elect them within your delegation to go to the platform committee in July of 2024.
So if it's only 112, does that mean the state party chairs are not going to this? It's only the national committee woman and national committee man, or how does that work?
No, the members of the National Platform Committee are separate from the RNC members. So they
Oh,
could be anyone that is a delegate to the national convention. And each state will send one man and one woman to represent them on the platform committee at the convention.
okay.
So it can be anyone that gets elected as a delegate to the national convention.
Okay. All right. I know I'm totally taking over the conversation here cuz I just find this so fascinating, Jay. So, how can you tell us a little bit about how the sausage is made when it comes to the platform committee meeting? Is it like a bunch of people, like smoky back rooms where, people are wheeling and dealing? Like what happens? Because that sounds like if it's 112 people the week before the convention, that sounds like a lot of pressure. That sounds like a lot of like intense conversation is happening.
Well, there will be intense conversation. And how it works is that there will be a draft platform that will be presented, and that'll be worked out by members of the Republican National Committee staff, and the nominee of the party, if it's decided by that point, will have some real influence into what that platform looks like. And you've looked at it two different ways. In 2008, for instance, John McCain was very, very active in what the platform looked like. So he
Okay.
brought his people to Minneapolis, and we worked on the platform there. And there were
Mm.
changes that were made. 2016, President Trump just said, you're the Republican Party, write the platform, we'll go with it. Doesn't mean that the candidate is actually going to follow the platform, but he left it up to the party to do that.
Mm.
So a
Okay.
draft platform is presented. So you go a week before, you receive a copy of the draft platform. You're one of the 112 that are there. There are
Okay.
subcommittee groups that talk about the different issues. One might be social issues, might be the life issues, might be marriage, the family. One might be foreign policy. One is going to be economic policy, energy policy. So we have these subgroups that will meet for the first couple of days. And where they will do is they will try to fine tune the wording and represent the larger body as to what that platform looks like. It
Okay.
will then go to a public meeting. It will be on camera. C-SPAN covers it, where the
Mm.
112 members get together and they go section by section and discuss what the platform should look like and why. In each of
Okay.
these sections, we will have votes on them, and then we'll vote on the entire package together. So it's a
And
public thing. It's not smoke-filled rooms, but there is some work that's done with staff and other members prior to the meetings so that there's something to work on. The platform is 56 pages. The 2020, if we did not have a platform committee because of the COVID restrictions, and there was some push by the Trump people to turn it into a 3-page platform. It won't be
wow.
3 pages. It'll be 50 something pages because there are a lot of issues and the Republicans take a stand on their issues. And I guarantee God will be in our platform, although it's not in the Democrat one.
That's so wild. So, do you think that this conversation about transgender or biological men being allowed in women's spaces or any of that, do you think any of that is going to be part of the platform conversation nationally?
Oh, it absolutely will be. And
Okay.
there'll be fights to define what a man is, what a woman is, and all of that. I'm sure there'll be a section on uh, transgender people in sports.
Mm.
Riley Gaines
So,
is out there making great statements on what that should look like.
whatever happens at the meeting of the National Federation of Republican Women could actually have a tremendous impact on the platform committee meeting.
No
And
doubt about it. And also, if you take a look at California, just put together their platform, and it's very weak on the issues. It doesn't support the traditional values that we have. And so when you put together all the concepts that are going into the national platform, people will take a look at the California platform. They'll take a look at the Arkansas platform. They'll take a look at a lot of the different states' platforms and use those as guidelines, as a referral going forward. So I think we really want to take a look at what's going on with the National Federation of Republican Women, but we also want to make sure that anyone that we elect to represent us at any level stays true to our values and our belief systems and what we're doing. And I appreciate you having me on for this Throw Up Thursday segment. It was a little long, but I think we need to make a difference out there, and don't stop fighting for your values.
Yes. And most importantly, Jay, I think we want to emphasize, write to your national committee representatives right now. If you are watching or listening, don't just hear this and think, oh, this sucks and is stupid or whatever. What we need y'all to do is to act. Make sure you reach out to your local chapter of the National Republican Women. Let them know, especially if you are a woman, if you want to remain a woman and protect women's spaces and women's organizations, reach out to them today. Tell them what you think. Reach out to your national committeeman, national committee woman. Let them know what your priorities are, because if they don't hear from you, they're just going to go to these meetings and do whatever they want. These people are there to represent you. So go out, take responsibility, and let your elected representatives, your appointed representatives, your national Republican women know that you want to protect women's spaces. Thank you so much, Jay, the Republican, for coming on today and throwing up about the National Federation of Republican Women.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Jay.
Robert, can
Ericka,
you believe this nonsense? Is this? Are we going to be talking about this anymore in the next segment today, or what?
Well, I think we have another guest coming on. So, Jay the Republican, thank you for stopping in and throwing up on Thursday. Folks, we have to go to break. We will be right back after the break.